What's up guys? In today's video we're going to be building a type of pyramid you may have never seen before, something called a Nubian pyramid, typical of the Nubian Empire and the Kingdom of Kush in Sudan, which were built as tombs and temples for the deceased rulers of the country. These buildings are incredibly interesting and they're far more numerous than the larger, more famous pyramids to the north in Egypt, and that's what we're going to be building today in today's tutorial. So the first thing we're going to try and do is you're going to want to try and dig this hole. Now this is a 9 by 17 square rectangle area, and then it's got a bit on the end. And this main bit is 9 blocks deep over here. And then this bit over here is then going to be 6 blocks deep. Now this is going to make more sense as we start to build the staircase, but this is going to allow us to basically see what we're going to do when we build the underground section of the building. Now you could skip further ahead in the video if you don't want to build the underground section, but this is going to really help you. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take 6 blocks from the edge, and then we're going to place them basically to fill in this hole. And then we're going to start basically making the stairs going down. Now what you're going to do is you're basically just going to put stair blocks that are going to run all the way down to the bottom to a certain point. So you're going to put 6 smooth sandstone stair blocks all the way down to the bottom, and then the bottom 3 are going to be 3 wide. So this is single, 1 wide, and on this side over here we're going to fill it in with just the normal sandstone block. And we want this to look like it's basically been cut out of the earth pretty much, or out of like the literal sandstone bedrock that you're going to have underneath the soil, underneath the sand that you have over there. And then we're just going to start to fill in a little bit. Now this next bit we're just going to take 3 wide smooth sandstone stairs, and we're going to put 3 stairs going down like that. And the staircase basically just widens as we get to the bottom. And now we're going to have to start to replace bits of the floor, and we're just going to do the simple thing and just put, you know, the normal sandstone block on the bottom of the floor. Now I'm going to speed this up right here, but we're going to basically just be filling in this area right here. And there you have it. That's basically your main floor for the basement area. Now what we're going to start doing is we're going to start making a bit of wall that looks like it's been kind of cut out of the literal bedrock itself, so it doesn't look particularly perfect. If you see images or like the actual remains underneath these pyramids, they have these large vaulted ceilings, and they're pretty much just cut out of the earth, and they're not very decorative at the front of the burial chamber. Towards the back they get more decorative, and we're going to reflect that later on in the video. But up until we get to this bone block wall right here, which is basically a 6 block deep from the staircase, you're just going to be wanting to build this right here. And feel free to pause the video whenever you want to. It will help you follow the video a bit better. So we've got 2 blocks right here, and then we're basically just going to be adding little bits of stairs or maybe some wall, just to make it look like it's a bit messy and it's been really just like cut out of the out of the rock itself. And then over here we're just going to be filling in along the back. And we're going to do the same on the other side as well, of course. Yeah. Now for this next bit, we're just going to extend the bone block up just a little bit for this wall. And then what we're going to do is we're going to start to make our vaulted ceiling. So what you're going to do is you're just going to start to fill in these corners here as well. And we're going to want to start with some granite stairs. So we're going to do some upside down granite stairs on the top. Then we're going to want to backfill along with sandstone as we go. This is just going to make it easier to place the upside down stairs. Do the same on the other side, like so. And then as we get to the top, we're going to want to do the same thing. We just want to keep backfilling, and that's going to allow us to just place the slabs upside down or on the top of the block on the ceiling, just to make a nice vaulted shape on the top of the ceiling, so it looks like it's this barrel vault that's holding up this space down here. Now what you can do is you can put granite up here and you can put some more stairs, but I'm going to fill it in as well, and then just going to put some slabs in here. You can do either. I mean, you can do it with more stairs, come to the top, and then you've got granite up there. But I'm going to leave it just with the granite at a lower level, and it gets a more circular shape, but you can do either. And you basically have the basic shape that we're looking for right here. So you're just going to fill in these areas with sandstone, And then when you come to the front here, just to the entrance, you're just going to want to put some upside down smooth sandstone stairs. And then we're going to backfill this area in with just normal sandstone. And that is the first part of the basement area, the burial chamber area, finished. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go on to the actual tomb area of the burial chamber. Now this is a bit more decorative, so we're going to start with some red smooth sandstone. And we're going to place this in a band all the way along the bottom on these 3 sides. So that's 6 right there, and then this is going to be 7 deep. Then we have the orange terracotta. That's going to run all the way along the top here, like so. And then we're going to take some bone blocks again. So we're going to place them 2 high on top. So again, this is a 7 deep room. Just filling in up on top of these blocks right here. And then what we're going to start to do is we're going to start to do a pattern, but where rather than having just complete upside down granite stairs, we're going to put granite and smooth quartz stairs. Now this is going to give us like a checkerboard pattern in the ceiling itself. This is still going to be a vaulted ceiling, like we've done in the previous chamber, but it's going to add a bit more of a pattern to it. And what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to backfill over this. This is going to make it much easier for us to just place these stairs. But also it means that you don't have any hollow spaces left behind afterwards. So we're going to do the same thing right here. We're just going to put the granite stairs upside down, smooth quartz stairs. We're going to backfill on top of it. And then we're going to want to alternate it doing the same thing. So just smooth quartz stairs. Some bone blocks just filling in again here. And again just alternating it on this side. Like so. Then we're going to want to take some full blocks of smooth quartz and granite. And we're just going to want to alternate it again over here. And this basically just gets a really nice pattern ceiling inside the actual tomb itself, which would have been more typical in the actual burial area. Now the last thing we're going to do here, which is a decorative element, is we're basically just going to take some signs, put some dashes on the signs, and then we're going to run that all the way along this top band here. And then we're going to want to put some mangrove buttons along the top there. And then you have it. There is the burial chamber basically complete. We're going to come back and add some details later, and we're going to add the actual sarcophagus itself. But in the meantime, we're just going to destroy our guide blocks. And then we're going to want to backfill in this hole right here. If you got welded it, this will be a lot easier, but you can just fill it in with random stuff, to be honest. And there we go. That's our hole filled back in. Now for the next step, we're going to basically come along the top right here, and we're going to want to use a different color block as a guide. And we're going to want to place 10 blocks. We're going to go and place 10 blocks from that block at the front right there. And on that 10th block, or after that 10th block, we're going to want to start building this shape right here. So we're going to put some quartz bricks, some granite blocks, and we're going to want to put these blocks right here at the front, and then we want to have a 2x5 either side. This is going to be our gate and the pylon, which is going to serve as the entrance to the chapel. Now if you follow me, so we're going to start building the actual walls of the chapel, and that's going to help us to basically line out where we're going to put the main pyramid shape. Going to put some quartz bricks on top of that granite over there, and then some smooth quartz blocks on top of here. So at the moment it's really, really simple, and this is quite a simple build to do. It's just getting the steps right and getting the shapes right. That's the difficult thing in this one. So you're going to just want to place a couple of extra blocks on top as so. And then we're going to come in one from the edge right here. And then we want some chiseled sandstone on top. And we're going to do the same on the other side. Now we're going to have to delete this in the middle here because we want to put the gate itself. But this is the basic pylon shape that we're going to have that kind of slants inwards. It doesn't slant backwards so much in these builds or in these buildings themselves. As you can see, you get that pylon shape at the front right there. Now on top of here, we're just going to put some chiseled sandstone, like so. And that's going to be the basis for our pylon at the front of the chapel. Just going to want to take some direct walls to the sides, and this is just going to help us add a little bit more of a gradient that comes inwards. And then you basically have it for this step. Now what we want to do is we want to also just start to replace some of the blocks in the front, just so it looks like there's a pathway going to the front of the temple section of this building. And then we're going to want to start to lay out the pyramid. Now, this is going to be a 13 by 13 square. So you're going to want to start laying this out first, where we have it coming right to the edge of that pylon and right to the edge of that pylon. That basically means it will be a 13 by 13 square. I'm going to have to just quickly correct this over here because this is one block too far over. But this internal chapel area should be 5 wide once you have finished it. I'm going to just take some polished upside down diorite stairs over here. And that's just basically going to be the ceiling or roof detail element that gets on the top of that wall on the side. Now what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to place 13 blocks running along here. Now you're going to want to double check this before you start building upwards. So here I've got 13 right here, but we want to double check this, that this is a 13 by 13 square before we start building upwards, because when we start building upwards, if it's not 13 by 13, it's not going to jump and match into the middle. Now the second thing we want to do is we want to take some polished diorite blocks and we want to build them coming up 2 and then in 1 in a diagonal. This is quite hard to explain, but if you can see on screen in the video, you should be building a shape that's kind of like this, where it comes up 2 blocks and then in diagonally 1. And you're going to want to try and repeat this on all 4 sides of the building. Now if you have welded it, this might be easier because you might be able to just place loads and loads of rectangles on top of each other in 2 block to 1 block intervals, but this is going to be the basis of the next step of this build. Now what we're going to do is we're going to just start building the back wall of the chapel right here, and this is going to round off the back of this room and help us as a reference point for the rest of the pyramid. So we're going to place some granite along this back wall here, some quartz bricks, which is going to be our detailed element, and then we're going to add some smooth quartz blocks along the top, and we're just going to want to backfill in the rest of this area right here. This is going to serve as a basis for the rest of the pyramid shape. And then what we want to do is between all of these diorite blocks, we're going to want to just fill in with some smooth quartz blocks. And this is going to start to make our pyramid shape. Now what's quite interesting about Nubian pyramids or Sudanese pyramids is that they actually have a 65 to 70 degree angle as compared to 52 degrees, which is the general rule for Egyptian pyramids, which makes them appear much taller than they actually are because of the steeper angle. But because of their steeper angle, there was a different challenge in building them, and they couldn't build them that much bigger. So if you see the bent pyramid of Sneferu in, I forget where it is in Egypt, but somewhere it's around Saqqara, that's why that bends inwards, because it basically collapsed. Now what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be adding some of these shelf blocks. So this is the pale oak shelf block, and we're going to be putting that along the lower block of this smooth quartz right here. Now this is just going to help us with the gradient going upwards. It's not totally perfect, but it's the closest thing that we have to a vertical slab block basically. This is just going to help the shape. I mean, you can leave it off, but in this build it works quite well. And you're just going to want to repeat that for all 4 sides of the pyramid. Now what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to add just a granite wall on top. This is going to be my capstone. Now, typically these capstones would have been made of gold or covered in electrum, but we're just going to be using that. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to come to this front side right here, and we're just going to fill this area in. So if you've got a hollow one, you're just going to fill this in, and then we're just going to add a couple of smooth quartz slabs on the bottom and on the top. Now this is going to serve as like the window looking shaft at the top of the pyramid that you see in some of these pyramids. Then what we're going to do is we're going to come to the front of the gate, and we're just going to put some more sandstone and then some upside down bamboo mosaic stairs. Then we're going to do the same with some dark prismarine on top of the pylons, just upside down along the top. And that's going to act as like the decorative element at the top of the pylon. Now the thing is with these is that the actual ruins that we have of them are quite monochrome. They're just a single stone colour, and evidence does suggest that they were painted quite brightly coloured. So what I'm doing here is I'm just adding some different mangrove buttons and warp buttons in different intervals to add a little bit of extra colour. And then I'm going to do another band of that just lower down right here. So just mangrove buttons and then what buttons. You could add more colours as well. You could add signs and different colour blocks on the front of this white pylon. But this kind of gets a good effect of just different bits of colours, maybe writing, maybe painting, that really tries to, or looks to recapture the colourful look that some of these would have had. Now on the top of this gate right here, we're just going to add some bamboo signs with nothing on them in a band along the top right here. And that basically rounds out for the pylon itself. Now the last thing we're going to do for this step pretty much is we're just going to put the ceiling of the chapel, and I'm going to do a mix of just sandstone slabs and birch slabs. And the likelihood is that these ceilings would have been made out of a lighter material. It wouldn't have been made out of proper stone. And many of these chapel roofs in the modern day have now collapsed inwards. So I'm just going to put something that looks like reeds and maybe adobe on top of it, which is what I'm trying to recapture there. Now what we want to do is you just want to fill in the floor of this in sandstone, and then we should be ready to do the details. Now the first thing we want to do is we want to come to the front of the chapel, and you want to just put a spruce door and a spruce trapdoor in the entrance. Now this is going to allow us to just close the door to stop sand and animals from getting in, from vandalising the offerings. And then the next thing we want to do is we're going to just put some polished granite. This is going to be our altar. And then I'm going to add some red carpet in here, just as another extra decorative element. Going to put some banners on the walls. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to put one of these copper golem statues. I've not really used these before on the channel, but I've decided today I'm going to use one. So I'm going to have one sat down over there. That can be a statue of something. And I'm just going to add a couple of flower pots, a candle, some other decorated pots. And there you basically have an offering for a king or a god or whatever is buried in this pyramid. Just going to add an extra few things on the outside, and that rounds it out for the chapel, where basically people would come and offer something to whoever is buried in the pyramid. Just going to change the placement of our lanterns, and we're just going to add a couple of things that are stored in front of the burial chamber. Some barrels and some pots. We're going to do the same with the doors on here, so we're just going to put a spruce door, and we're going to put the spruce trapdoor on top right over here. And then we're going to put some bamboo signs. So we're going to put a band of bamboo signs along the top right here. And we're going to write this sort of thing in it. I mean, you can really write what you want. I quite like to do this sort of thing with the W's and some lines. It kind of looks like they're like the flowers of reeds or something that's just painted in the wall. So I'm just going to add that along the top right here. Just a little bit of extra detail that we've got right there. I'm going to add a couple of mangrove buttons as well, just in a band along here. I mean, you can really add any button that you want to. And then in here, I'm just going to add some random tomb things. I'm going to add some sort of sarcophagus right here. So that's just chiseled sandstone, black carpet, and a couple of extra torches along here. So we're not using the lanterns. I mean, ideally you don't want to have any torches in here, but for the sake of the video, we're going to just put a couple in here. And then maybe if you've had this tomb here for a couple hundred years, you might want to add some cobwebs. And then if you come to the front, you can maybe add some extra plants over here. So I'm just going to put some bone meal down, maybe just a couple of other plants over the other side. Maybe some bushes, or I don't know, maybe some like firefly bushes as well. Maybe you get some fireflies over here at night or something, I don't know. But it basically just looks a little bit more overgrown. And that is basically it. So we're going to do a quick little tour. So we've got our chapel at the front. So we've got something where you can offer something to the statue or whatever is buried in here. There's actually might be a few too many fireflies out here. So we might have to, you know, do a bit of a coal. That might be a little bit better. But there you have it. I mean, you basically have a nice pylon to the front. You've got your shaft around there, and then you've got your big pyramid, which would have actually been a completely solid pyramid. The burial chamber was just in front of the pyramid itself, and the pyramid was just totally solid. Then you have the front of your burial chamber with the vaulted ceiling, and it looks like it's just been cut out of the rock over here. And then you have the main tomb area of your pyramid, where maybe a king or queen, which is quite interesting because these buried equally kings and queens in Sudan. But yeah, there you have it. I really hope you guys have enjoyed this video. I really hope you guys have learned a little bit about Nubian pyramids. Make sure to like and subscribe here if you're new. Big thanks to everyone who's been watching recently. And let me know what you think of the new shaders in the comments. I've had to change my shaders because Zeus just doesn't work anymore. So yeah, guys, really let me know what you think of these shaders. They look kind of cool at night, but I'm not quite sure about the daytime. I think it's a little bit too cartoony or dark. Give me some suggestions. But yeah, until the next one, goodbye, guys.